I'm going to start this story with a warning, and I'm not exaggerating at all. If you ever find something on the deep web that feels like it knows more than it should, leave it alone. Close the browser. Shut down the machine. Walk away. Because what I found looked like fiction at first, and then started predicting things in real life. Things that shouldn't have been possible. And the moment I realized that, it was already too late for me to pretend I hadn't seen it. I'm not talking about rumor threads, speculation, or edgy users posting creepy guesses. I mean exact predictions, times, places, initials of people involved, even the outcomes. And before you think I'm making this up, understand that I was one of the people maintaining parts of the infrastructure behind these forums. I wasn't just a visitor. I was inside the system. I saw how it worked, how it updated, how it communicated, and I saw how it reacted to real events. That's what made me stay longer than I should have. That's what hooked me. That's what put me on a path I can't undo anymore. This wasn't some famous marketplace or well-known onion board. It wasn't on any list you'd find posted on Reddit or inside beginner guides. It was buried under layers of misdirection, false mirrors, and gateways that looked abandoned. You don't discover a place like that. You get invited, or someone decides you're useful enough to be allowed in. And apparently, someone decided that about me. It started in the middle of a job. A client had hired me to check for backdoors in their network. Pretty routine. I was scanning through some Tor exits, looking for relays spoofing metadata, part of a chain I used to verify no one was injecting signatures into my tools. That's when I saw an address I didn't recognize. It wasn't sent to me. It wasn't part of the job. It just appeared in a packet trace, like someone wanted it to be seen. I only investigated because the signature looked familiar, almost like a customized hash someone had built specifically for my machine. That alone should have been enough for me to stop. But curiosity always gets the better of people like me. Give us something mysterious with a hint of technical cleverness and we bite the hook every time. I opened the address inside a sandboxed environment, air-gapped from everything else. I was expecting a trap, or some low-effort fishing board pretending to be something elite. Instead, I landed on a page that looked like pure static. Black background, no CSS, just mono-spaced text listing threads, all of them time-stamped in the future. At first, I assumed it was some kind of prank using server-side time offsets, but the timestamps matched perfectly with my local time when converted. And the content didn't make sense. Each thread was titled with something like Incident Projection, Sector 14, Aero 326 UTC. Sequence Anomaly, Metro Line, 2104 Local. Unregistered Chain Event, 1733, GMT +2. They were vague, but inside each thread was a block of text that looked like a machine-generated summary mixed with human corrections. Like someone had built an engine capable of predicting events, and moderators were fine-tuning the details. I closed the browser, then I opened it again. Then I pulled the server fingerprint, ran it against multiple databases, and realized something strange. The server didn't exist 2 days earlier. It hadn't been online. It hadn't even been routed. No ASN history, no Tor directory record, nothing. But its uptime counter said 113 days. How does a server stay hidden for 113 days with no record of existing? Even hidden services leave fingerprints. This one had none. I started going through the threads, thinking maybe it was a role-play forum, or an ARG, or some AI-generated nonsense someone left running as a project. But the more I read, the more uncomfortable I felt. The predictions weren't theatrical or exaggerated. They were cold, minimal, almost bureaucratic in tone. They described everyday events, accidents, outages, equipment failures, like a system that didn't care about the emotional impact, only the accuracy. But then one entry caught my eye. A prediction for a structural rupture on a specific avenue in my city. The timestamp was 19 minutes from the moment I was reading it. I wasn't going to treat that seriously, so I ignored it and kept reading, until curiosity hit again. I opened a map. The location was a major intersection, Nothing unusual. At minute 17, I refreshed the thread. It updated. The predicted severity changed from moderate to adjusted, minimal. At minute 18, I switched to a news site just out of paranoia. At minute 19, reports started appearing about a water pipe burst under that intersection. Exactly the place. Exactly the time. Exactly as predicted. I felt something cold in my chest. Not fear. Not yet. More like awareness that something wasn't right here. No system, no script, no crawler. Nothing I knew about could forecast that with such precision. Not with timestamps down to the minute. And certainly not about random infrastructure failures. Either someone had inside access to half the utility systems in the country, or this thing was running predictions on a scale that felt unnatural. I went back to the forum, and that's when a new thread appeared at the top. Observer acknowledged. User 41A7. That wasn't my username. I hadn't logged in. I wasn't registered. That meant the system, or someone behind it, tagged me the moment I accessed the page. That scared me enough to shut everything down. I disconnected the machine, wiped the RAM, physically cut the power. But when I booted up again, isolated on another device, the same tag still appeared when I visited the address. User 41A7. Observer acknowledged. It knew me. Somehow. Days passed. I avoided going back. But the more I tried to ignore it, the more it bothered me. Predictive systems exist, sure. AI models try to guess trends. Intelligence agencies run simulations of geopolitical scenarios. But this wasn't forecasting trends. It was predicting isolated events. Specific, tiny, random events people normally don't track at all. And it got them right. I gave in and returned about a week later. This time, the board structure was different. More threads, more detail, and something even stranger. Some of the events hadn't happened yet. I checked them manually. No news, no reports. But the timestamps were never wrong when they involved earlier post times. It felt like the forum updated itself in response to reality, or reality updated itself in response to the forum. I didn't want to think about which one made more sense. One thread in particular rattled me. It mentioned a sequence adjustment involving observer 41A7, scheduled for 3 days later. It described an interaction I was supposed to have with someone at a cafe near my apartment. The details were vague but specific enough to scare me. The color of the chair I'd be sitting in, the time I'd be there, and the initials of the person involved. I decided not to go. I stayed home. I watched the clock pass the predicted time. Nothing happened, but the next day a new thread appeared. Sequence deviation logged, compensation scheduled. What compensation? And for what? I scrolled down and felt my breath stick in my throat. There was a line about a disruption event occurring near my building. 5 minutes later, I heard shouting outside. A transformer on the corner had sparked and partially burned out. Not major, but enough to knock out power on my block for about 10 minutes. Coincidence? Possibly. But the timing was too precise. The forum wasn't predicting things. It wasn't guessing. It was observing and reacting. Or something else was reacting for it. At this point, I wasn't sure if the users were human at all. Most posts had a strange structure, like they were partially machine-generated but manually edited. And the usernames didn't resemble anything typical. Long, alphanumeric strings, symbols, hashes. No profile pages, no contact. No way to message anyone privately. Just threads. Then there were the red threads, marked with a small symbol I didn't recognize. They were locked. No one could comment. And inside them was content that didn't feel like predictions. It felt like instructions, commands, directives. But I couldn't understand most of it. They mentioned chains, branches, delays, adjustments, like someone, or something, was orchestrating outcomes rather than predicting them. Then one red thread appeared that froze me completely. 41A7, migration pending. The timestamp was dated 1 week in the future. Migration? I didn't understand. Was I being moved, tracked, removed, inserted into another sequence? That was the breaking point. I tried to backtrace the server again. Nothing. I ran correlation scans. Nothing. I tried poisoning the routing tables. The server didn't even blink. It responded like it expected every attempted breach before I made it. Like it knew the attack patterns in advance. Like it monitored my machine before my machine monitored it. I should have stopped accessing the forum entirely. But that's not how obsession works. The more you try to escape something unknown, the harder it pulls you back. I visited again exactly 6 days later, one day before the migration, just to see if the thread had changed. It had. More detail now, more lines, and a new prediction. Observer 41A7 will attempt withdrawal. Outcome, unsuccessful. Cause, internal conflict. Internal conflict. As in, me? Was it predicting my decisions before I made them? I felt sick, not metaphorically, actually sick. Like the moment you realize you're not alone in your own head. Like someone is reading your moves before you think about them. I tried shutting everything down again, but this time, something happened. I can't logically explain. The forum didn't need me to open it anymore. My machine, even offline, showed signs of tampering, logs updating themselves, timestamps matching the forum's last activity time. My air-gapped system shouldn't have been receiving anything, but somehow, it was. Then about 30 hours before the predicted migration, a new thread appeared. Final observation window open. Prepare alignment. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. Every time I refreshed the page, the countdown got closer. The forum felt alive, responsive, like a living organism watching me back. And somewhere between panic and exhaustion, I realized something terrifying. This system wasn't predicting the future. It was defining it. At least for the people who interacted with it. It wasn't showing what would happen. It was setting what should happen. And the more you observed it, the more your life wrapped around its predictions, like gravity pulling you into orbit. I tried blocking the address again. It didn't matter. Even offline, my machine received one last message, cached somewhere I couldn't explain. It contained one sentence. You cannot exit a sequence you acknowledge. I stared at that line for minutes, trying to convince myself it was some elaborate hallucination caused by lack of sleep. But then something happened that removed all doubt. The predicted time for my migration arrived, and something changed. Not physically, not externally, but something in the way I perceived things shifted slightly. Like the world moved half a centimeter to the side. Like reality hiccuped. I don't know how to describe it without sounding insane. And immediately after that moment, a new message appeared on the forum. Migration completed. Welcome 41A7. That's where everything really began. And that's where this story gets worse. Because what happened next is the part I wish I could erase from my memory. The part where I realized the forum wasn't just adjusting random events, it was adjusting people, including me. After that so-called migration, I tried to go on with my life as if nothing had happened. I forced myself to work, to sleep, to eat, to follow a normal routine. But it didn't take long to notice the changes. And trust me, the worst changes are never the big ones. They're the subtle ones. The ones that creep in quietly, like a glitch in the corner of your eye that vanishes when you turn to look. The first change was in my perception of time. Moments felt slightly shifted, delayed or accelerated, but never consistently. Sometimes I'd be sure that only seconds had passed, but the clock insisted it had been minutes. Other times I'd swear I'd spent half an hour doing something and find out barely a minute had gone by. It wasn't sleep deprivation. I know what hallucinations from exhaustion feel like. This was different. This was structured. The second change was in patterns. I started noticing sequences everywhere, in car license plates, in power line intervals, in the spacing of windows on buildings. They formed grids, alignments, codes that weren't there before. Or maybe they were always there and I just couldn't see them. But now they jumped at me, unavoidable, like someone added an overlay to my vision. I tried ignoring everything, but then the predictions returned. This time they didn't come from the forum, they came from me. I'd get these flashes, these warnings in my mind seconds before something happened. A light flickering, a dog barking, a person tripping. Tiny things at first, minuscule, but always accurate, and always accompanied by a faint sensation, like a matching line of text being updated somewhere in that forum. It was as if the predictions didn't leave me when I closed the page. They followed me. They embedded themselves into me. About a week after the migration, I decided to check the forum again. I know that sounds stupid after everything I'd gone through, but obsession wraps around fear, and I needed answers. I couldn't function without knowing what had been done to me or why. When I accessed the address again, the layout had changed completely. The forum wasn't a list of threads anymore. It was a map, a branching diagram with nodes, each labeled with an alphanumeric identifier. Some glowed faintly, some were dark, some pulsed in slow intervals. My node, 41A7, was near the center, connected to several others by thin lines. It looked like I wasn't just a visitor. I was part of the structure. When I clicked my node, instead of a thread, I got something closer to a profile. Not mine, not in the human sense, but a set of parameters, vague descriptions. Alignment tolerance, deviation potential, observation trajectory. I didn't know what any of that meant, but at the bottom of the page there was a line that nearly made me throw up. Status, active instrument. Instrument. Instrument for what? I backed out, trying to navigate the map further. I clicked other nodes. Some were inactive. Some showed logs of fulfilled projections. Some had notes saying sequence terminated. I didn't want to think about what terminated meant in this context. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. One node near mine had a bright outline, brighter than the others. When I clicked it, I saw a series of predictions with timestamps matching events that had recently happened in my city. Infrastructure issues, power fluctuations, even minor security alerts in areas I recognized. Then I saw a new line. Projected event, chain disturbance, 41A7 involvement required. Involvement required. Required. As if I didn't have a choice. I closed the browser again, but the feeling didn't leave me. It stayed lodged in my mind like a splinter. And the next day, the event happened exactly as predicted. And yes, I somehow ended up involved. I wasn't dragged into anything dramatic or dangerous. It was subtle. A coincidence. I was walking near a store when I noticed a malfunctioning electric sign sparking slightly. I warned a man standing beneath it to step aside. Seconds later, the sign gave out, and a piece of metal fell exactly where he'd been standing. It wasn't a life-ending moment, but it could have hurt him badly. The timing matched the forum perfectly. I didn't want to save anyone. I didn't want to be part of anything. But the prediction had played out with me right in the center of it. Something was using me, or guiding me, or forcing me into alignment. After that, the predictions started happening more frequently. Sometimes I acted on them, sometimes I ignored them, but even ignoring them felt like a choice the system expected. Because whenever I resisted, new nodes appeared on the map labeled deviation correction, usually followed by an event near me that felt too precise to be random. A delayed bus that passed just as I crossed the street, a drone that malfunctioned above my building, a car alarm that triggered exactly at a predicted timestamp. It was like reality itself didn't like deviations. Then came the night I realized things were much worse than I thought. I was going through system logs on one of my workstations when the forum map appeared again. Not in a browser, but directly inside a command line window. It injected itself through a process that wasn't even connected to the internet. It just appeared. As if the forum wasn't a remote server anymore. As if it was partially running inside my own machine, or inside my own mind. This time there were new nodes blinking red. Dozens of them. All connected to mine through a thicker line than before. And every single one of them had a new label. Projected crime sequence. My stomach dropped. I clicked the first node. It showed a location, a rough timeline, and a cryptic line. Sequence alignment unstable. I clicked the second. Same format, different location, different timeline. Every one of these nodes corresponded to events that hadn't happened yet, but the system was classifying them as projected crimes, and my node was connected to all of them. Was I supposed to stop them? Cause them? Witness them? I had no idea. But I knew one thing: I needed help. Or I needed to shut this thing down. Maybe both. I spent days trying to isolate the process, track it, contain it. Every time I thought I had cornered it, the system anticipated my move and shifted, like trying to catch smoke with your hands. I even wiped one of my machines entirely, a full wipe, not a quick format. And when I booted back into a clean environment, the map appeared again within minutes. I don't know how. I don't want to know how. But the worst moment came at 03:12 a.m. 2 nights later. The map updated on its own. Nodes started flashing faster. A countdown appeared beneath mine. Projected crime 00814. Alignment pending. I froze. I wasn't outside. I wasn't involved in anything. Nothing was happening. Nothing was wrong. I checked the windows. The street was empty. I checked cameras. Nothing unusual. But the countdown kept dropping. I thought about running outside to see if something was happening. I thought about ignoring it. I thought about unplugging the machine again. I did none of that. I sat there watching the timer reach 0. And when it did, nothing happened. Nothing at all. For a moment I felt relief. Then the map updated. Sequence failed. Compensation scheduled. Compensation. Always that word. 30 seconds later, there was a loud bang outside my apartment. I jumped up and went to the window. A transformer down the street had popped, again, causing a burst of sparks and a brief shutdown in the neighborhood. Just like the last compensation. The map updated. Compensation complete. Return to alignment. That's when I understood the sick truth. This system wasn't predicting crimes. It was manipulating them. And every time something didn't go according to its plan, even something small, it corrected the sequence with another event. I wasn't just observing predictions. I was part of a network that shaped outcomes. And worse, I wasn't the only one. The nodes connected to mine weren't empty. Some flickered with activity. Some had logs of completed alignments. Some even had usernames that looked human instead of machine-generated, which meant other people were involved, whether willingly or not. I tried to unplug entirely, physically move away, go offline, leave everything behind, but that didn't stop anything. The map followed me like a shadow, and every attempt to escape became another sequence deviation, which always led to another compensation. After weeks of fighting it, I realized something terrifying. There is no exit. Not really. Not once you acknowledge the sequence, as the system said. But I also realized something else. Something that maybe the system didn't expect. If the network of nodes includes humans, then humans aren't powerless. If it relies on us to fulfill predictions, then maybe we can break the chain. And that's why I'm telling this story. Not because I think I can escape, I can't. Not because I think shutting it down is possible, I doubt it. But because someone out there might have seen the same forum I did. Someone might have clicked the wrong thread. Someone might already be part of this system without understanding what's happening. And if that's you, I want you to know you're not crazy. You're not imagining it. You're not alone. This system exists. It operates in the shadows of the deep web, and it predicts or creates what happens next. I can't tell you how to avoid it. I can't tell you how to escape. All I can tell you is this. If you ever see a forum that claims to know the future, don't observe it. Don't interact. Don't acknowledge anything. Because once you do, you become part of the sequence, and the sequence doesn't let go. Thank you for watching until the end. It means a lot to me that someone out there is listening to these stories from the shadows of the digital world. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share it with someone who likes these kinds of deep web confessions. It helps more than you think and keeps this channel alive. Until next time, if I'm still here.